Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow with Katie Roach. Lance had a quick little doctor's appointment he had to do. I don't know. Anyways, it's going to be Katie and I. Katie, you ready for it?
I hope so.
All right, well, the Katie fan club is enforced. Joseph, go back one slide. Go back 2 slides, Joseph. One more. Yeah, there we go. Please ask questions about anything that can come in during the week. We'd love to answer your questions. We may not know the answer, but we will find out where to get the answer for you. Certificates of participation, download those, keep track of those, and please don't send me an email the last week of December saying you want the last 2 years. It's difficult to do that. Anyway, poll questions. Number 1, do you use a loan service provider? These are questions we'd like to track from time to time, Katie, to see what the best practice is in the industry. And 22%, that's about consistent with what we've had in the past, right, Katie?
I don't really recall the last time we asked this. This sounds about right, but yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, and remember, you can use a loan service provider to do one aspect, to do a review. SBA frowns upon you using a loan service provider for outsourcing everything in terms of underwriting, servicing, liquidation. But if you have a particularly difficult liquidation case, you have a difficult PDK, you want to bring someone in to review your servicing or review your underwriting from an SBA review, that could be a reasonable way to do it. There's a number of reputable companies out there that have done that. We asked this question because this is all over the news these days. And has anybody actually received forgiveness on over a $2 million application? We know some have been submitted. Katie's going to talk a little bit about the new forms that are now, we guess, quasi-official. But has anybody actually done it? And that 2% may be a fat finger response. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, Katie. But yeah, we haven't heard. If you answered yes, do me a favor. Drop me an email and say, you don't have to give me details. Just say, yeah, we have received it. So this tells me SB is still holding it up on their review process. Mm-hmm. Finally, can the seller assume the PPP loan in a business acquisition loan? We asked, Lance is going to do a webinar next, I believe, next Tuesday on business acquisition. 23% of all 7A loans are BizAc loans. There's a lot of people with snow on the roof who are selling their businesses. And actually, the answer is yes, we don't need SBAs. Joseph, I think you left off the yes, we need, we can do it. Interesting animal in that the PPP loan does not have a guarantor. It is to the business. There's no collateral. And that's one of the things Lance is going to be will be discussing. We're still waiting for guidance on that. I refer you back to the August SOP notice where they talk about how to do that. So Lance will discuss that further. The answer is it can be done in some format. Katie, what's going on with these 3509s, 3510s?
So the SBA has basically quietly released these 2 new borrower questionnaires on the PPP forgiveness platform. And these are for borrowers who took over $2 million in PPP loans. It's not for anybody smaller. The first form, the 3509, is just for nonprofit borrowers, and the second, the 3510, is for for-profit borrowers. The forms state that they're intended to facilitate the collection of supplemental information so that the SBA can evaluate the borrower's good faith certifications that they made that say that they had an economic uncertainty that required this loan, and that's why they got it. So far, unfortunately, the SBA has not issued any instructions to lenders regarding how to use these forms, when to send them out, things like that. However, we do know that the borrower is going to have 10 days to complete the form, and then the lender will have 5 days once they've received the completed form to upload that to the forgiveness platform. And they're also going to need to separately input the borrower's responses in an online form as well and retype those out. So it might take a little while. They have up to 5 business days to do that.
Yeah, well, all I know is 10 days, giving the entrepreneur 10 days to get all this information together is definitely a time crunch. We've read articles from lawyers and CPAs saying, hey, don't do this yourself. Don't try this at home. Get help to do this. Katie, the 35, as you said, the difference between 3509 and 3510 is simply one's profit, nonprofit. Everything else is the same. But we were concerned about the dates. What are the dates on the forms as they are in the portal right now?
So in the portal right now, they say they're at the end of the month. I wouldn't really take too much out of that, though. A lot of these forms, due to the Paperwork Reduction Act, have been dated at the end of the month, and I believe even the forgiveness forms themselves, all the rest of them, are also dated at the end of the month. So they're probably just going to release updated forms starting in December.
What I'm confused about is who initiates this process. Obviously, the borrower can dump the forms on the lender's desk, and then that clock doesn't kick in. What is the duty? What is the responsibility of the lender to send these forms? Does SBA automatically generate them? The logistics of that. The second part of that, more of an editorial comment. Remember, this only applies to 400 loans. So when we get into this rarefied air, be sure and take the time to do it correctly. But Katie, do you know?
No, I talked to a lender who actually sent me these forms, and she said that unfortunately she's not been given any instructions. They have several loans over that $2 million mark, and they have not been given an instruction to send that out to the borrower or when to do it. So they're kind of holding back. I don't know if that's probably what I would recommend until you at least know how SBA wants to handle this. But yeah, they're holding back on it until they receive instructions.
Right. So, I mean, this is one of the many loose ends that we're waiting to be cleaned up from SBA in terms of guidance. And remember, this starts at the committee level at both the House and the Senate in terms of what they want to see happening. And then SBA needs to implement it. And of course, people are pointing fingers and saying, no, it's not what we wanted. This is interesting. This came out Friday, Katie, and these are phenomenal rates for your borrowers who want to get into commercial real estate. I've never seen rates this low. Katie and I both confess we don't know if this is for the year, if it's for a month. We've tried to do some research. The notice is unclear. Maybe someone out there smarter than us can help us out on this. But where we are right now, Friday, SBA announced it, that these are the rates, and you can see 25-year 2.4% to acquire commercial real estate. That is a phenomenal opportunity for Main Street borrowers, Katie.
It is, and I really did look, and I don't know how long this is going to be for, but it's definitely a great opportunity for those small businesses that can apply for these. It's a great time to do so.
We'd love to follow Main Street optimism to tell both sides of the stories, and yeah, there's a lot of bad news, but there's a lot of good news, and we'll ferret that out. What is your reporting tell you what's American Express saying about the entrepreneurial spirit index?
So American Express recently released their first entrepreneurial spirit index, which looks at a variety of metrics, including optimism and a couple different trends in the industries, just kind of looking at how small business is really being run right now. And I thought what was very positive about it is you're starting to see a lot of businesses say that they're expecting full recovery. 75% said they are optimistic about their ability to fully recover from the pandemic. And what's even more is a lot of them expect to be able to do it in a fairly short amount of time. 21% expect it to take less than a year for full recovery, and 46 say 1 to 3 years. So it's definitely getting a little bit more positive. This looks like very similar to some of the other optimism reports I've looked at. So it seems like that's pretty much the standard right now. Is a lot of people are saying they're feeling more optimistic. They think they're going to be able to recover. And notably, this one also looked at how they're prepared for future crises, and they said 82% said they feel better prepared.
Katie, when was this study performed? Do you know right offhand?
It was performed last month and reported just last week.
So this, I mean, these results are even before the good news, possible good news on a vaccine, which I read was up to 95% effective, which is pretty effective. So we'll see how that plays out. I do know that Katie is ground zero in terms of state lockdowns. So while we have a lot of good news, we're also living the reality of, Katie, don't you dare leave your apartment in Washington State.
Yeah, it's a little bit limited. Unfortunately, a lot of the restaurants are going to have to close indoor dining and things like that. And I know that really hurts their ability to, take as many, especially here. It rains here a lot. So obviously they're going to either need to get some money out of takeout, or they're going to have to really look at how they're doing business again, because it's going to be rough for a couple weeks at the very least.
Very good. Let's see. We got a bunch of notes. It says the rates are for November. Okay. Thank you very much, Rich. We appreciate that. That's sort of what I suspected, but it wasn't there. Let's see. Dave says if we have an asset sale in a business, the seller pays off the PPP loan prior to the sale. It avoids complications. Are they still eligible to apply for forgiveness with no balance on the PPP loan? I don't know if it's paid off. That's the answer in that one. That's one I think you need to go directly to SBA. Let's see. Jeff says we first learned of the 305, 309 on October 28th when we received a loan notice of a loan over $2 million. So SBA is sending those out. The instructions for the lender to send the form is in the loan review notice. So SBA is sending out those notices. Jeff, I really appreciate that feedback. That's great. But I'm going to go back to those 504 rates, and even though they are for November, I don't anticipate them rising very much throughout the year. So that is they've been low pretty well for the 2020, and I expect similar type of rates for 2021. So that is definitely a good product. Wendy asked an interesting question. It says SBA has reduced the number of total eligible loans in the portal. Last week it was 511. Today it's 506. We only have loans over $2 million. I think this is why they reduced the number of eligible loans. Have you heard of other banks that this has happened to? We haven't received any confirmation, but I agree. I think the numbers are going down because it's been paid off as opposed to by the borrower, as opposed to being paid off by SBA. As I said, business acquisition loans are interesting. We're obviously very concerned. That's a poor choice of words, Katie. I'm very fascinated. How's that? Interested in what's going to happen in PPP 2.0. I'm not going to put you on the spot because I know you got nothing to say about that, other than it does still have bipartisan support. I know there's some rumblings about fraud, but it will, at some point in time, will happen. Where we're not about to say whether it's going to happen before the inauguration, after the inauguration, after the calendar year. That's still up in the air. Katie, you want to add to that, or you want to just let me sink in my own?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same. I think we're gonna we could get surprised in the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a little bit later rather than right now with everything going on. I don't expect it in the next week or so. But I do think there is still a lot of bipartisan support for small business. They're really trying to help these businesses, and I think there's going to be something, whether it's PPP 2.0 or something maybe for 7A to really boost that. We don't really know at this point.
What I track is in 2008, 2009, the decision was to bail out the Wall Street banks. There was a change in administrations, and that policy did not change. This time around, the Treasury, et cetera, decided to bail out directly. Maine send that money to them directly. If we're entering another round of shutdowns, you are stimulating to see a change in philosophy from that. So that's no matter what happens, I don't see a major shift from saying, oh, we're not going to bail out the restaurateur, we're going to go back to bail out the Wall Street banks. So there's just a little context, even though things are moving, and I've said when they start moving, they're going to move rapidly. I don't see 90-degree changes. Finally, Katie, I know you love putting this together, so we put our heads together. We put our top 10 list of things that your C-suite and board of directors need to know. So we're starting to work on that already for December, and the transaction on this is one check, and you can deliver it to whoever you want in your institution. Katie, good job. Wow, a lot of support today. And we will be going through, obviously, as changes hit with respect to SBA and Congress, we will be talking about those. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.